So we had the great game last night with the Rose Bowl, and I thought that Florida State, Michigan in the Orange Bowl was awesome as well, as Florida State beats Michigan 33-32. That was on Friday night. Head coach of the Seminoles, Jimbo Fisher, joining us. Coach, how's your morale?
It's good. It's always good to end the season like that and go into the offseason. You got 9 months where they can't criticize you anymore.
Oh, they'll find a way, Coach. We know that. They'll find a way.
You're right.
Did you watch the game last night, the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, I did. I watched probably at least 85% of it, yes.
That's crazy, though. The like roller coaster back and forth. And you had one of those games with Michigan, but as a coach in the moment, how do you sort of stave off something or take control of something when you can just see everybody saw momentum changing last night a couple of times? How do you diffuse that as a coach?
Well, I think if people want you to diffuse it on the sideline, there's a couple cue words or key phrases you will say to your players, but that doesn't do it. What changes the momentum is your preparation before you to be able to get into that mindset that, okay, we have to change momentum. People think you change it on the side. You don't. You change it in the preparation going up, but there's key words or phrases that you will say to your players that kind of make them come back to, oh, okay, we've prepared for this. And you know this, it's like your show, my game, whatever. If you feel like you've had a preparation for something that's happened, then you feel you can adjust to it and do what you need to do to change it. And I think that's the key. And I think what you saw last night, as crazy as it sounds, was two teams that were very well prepared because they were both able to change momentum when they had to because they probably had prepared for it very well going in.
What are you going to miss most about Dalvin Cook?
You know, of course, everyone says the great runs, and it's just first the dynamic of watching him running, going, oh, God, he just did it again. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you just look at yourself and say, how many times can this guy make this many big plays? Like, for instance, he had 19 touchdowns this year. His average touchdown run was 26.5 yards. I mean, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been – but the thing I really will miss the most about it is his lack of entitlement, his work ethic, and his ability to affect the other guys on the team because of his personality and his demeanor.
Was there any thought of him not playing in that game? Was there a discussion?
No. You don't understand him. And I mean it. I mean, because if he would have ever thought, we have a great relationship, a very open relationship, that I spent a lot of time with him, have him talk to different players, different thoughts. And I mean, it was never even thought of, discussed, anything of any sort. And he could have, because we have a very open platform. If Dalvin's the guy that, you know, you go to the park and you're a player and you're playing college ball or high school ball, whatever, and you're the star player, and the kids at the park are playing, and you go up to happen to be walking to the park, and you may be walking with your girlfriend or your friends, and you're chilling out, and you're just having a day off, and all of a sudden the game breaks out, and they roll the ball out, and they start playing. Within 5 minutes, Dalvin would be in the middle of the game, if that makes any sense. I mean, he's the guy when the ball rolls out to play. No matter where it's at, he's going to play. That's just who he is.
We had him on a couple of weeks ago. We loved him. We just thought that he had a great sense of humor, just seemed like a good kid, and, you know, you're lucky to have him, and now he goes to the NFL.
Very.
We're talking to Jimbo Fisher, Florida State head coach. Would you rather have a season end like yours did or like Ohio State's did?
Well, of course you say like ours did, because it's still disappointing and you end in a win. That's one of the great things about college football that I pray and hope that we don't. The playoffs are wonderful. But college football, you build your teams a lot of times off win, and you don't have to always end in a loss like every other sport does.
Mm-hmm.
And going into this offseason, I think it was very good for our kids to realize how they could flip the script, how they could do a lot of things, achieve things, even when certain goals were taken away. And for your development in your program, it's much better. But at the same time, I don't take anything away from Ohio State because they had one of the 4 shots to win the whole thing, which is ultimately what you want to go. So people say, you know, it is disappointing, but hey, Ohio State was still in the national semifinal with a chance to win a national championship. So I think both seasons were extremely successful.
Play analyst here for me, Coach. Clemson, you lost by 3 to Clemson back at the end of October going against Alabama.
Yep.
If Nick Saban called and said, hey, where do you see some weakness here? Where would you attack? First of all, would you give him information if Nick Saban called?
Well, I would kind of hold it off. Nick and I are very close. I mean, extremely close. But, I still have a lot of respect for Dabo and our conference and what goes on. And Nick wouldn't do that. I mean, he'll watch the film and make his own adjustments like most 99% of the people in the world do. And he makes good ones, that's for sure. But, I think this is it's a unique dynamic because, athletic multiple quarterbacks have always caused Alabama problems. I mean, but everybody says Alabama, it causes everybody problems.
Yeah.
Guys who can really throw the football. I mean, we act like that's I don't know. Here's what makes Deshaun special. And in a lot of ways, I mean, he controls the tempo of the game, and he has the ability to, when it's up, it's up, when it's down, and bring them back and keep them in even keel no matter what. And I think if he's an argument not the best player in the country, he's one of them. And he is a phenomenal player to compete against. I mean, he really is. But his ability to throw in the pocket, his ability to add to keep plays alive, and then to pure run. And there's a difference between an ad-lib guy who can keep plays alive. A lot of the runners can't do that. That have designed quarterback runs. He has the instincts to do both. And then they have the design runs, and, of course, they're going to use them. It makes it very unique, and it's going to have a huge challenge. And the other thing is Mike Williams, because then how do you get the extra guy in the box to handle the quarterback run? You got to play Mike Williams one-on-one, which makes it very caught. And then Deion Kane in their quick screen, and then Gallman can run the football. So Clemson's going to get theirs. I think the key matchup, as much as anything, is going to be how much Alabama scores, just like last year. No one thought Alabama would score 45, and make the plays on that side because Clemson's very good up front. They have experienced linebackers in the secondary, but we underestimate, and being with Nick, and I coached with Nick a long time, Nick's not a guy who, in my opinion, in his teams, they don't have to go score 50 and beat you by 40, 45 points. He does what he has to do to control the tempo. The tempo of the game is very important to him. And at 24-7 is just as impressive to him as 45-0. And by how he's controlling the game and how he's playing, how the offense plays to the defense and the defense to the offense, I think that's the true genius in how he plays. And I think the dynamic is going to be, people say, well, Alabama didn't score a lot. Well, maybe they didn't. But did they try as hard? And I'm not saying they didn't. Washington was really good on defense. But there's certain dynamics of a game that Nick will control the tempo if he knows he's got things in hand. So that, to me, is going to be key. And I think, again, special teams, which it was last year, the onside. You got to remember, they got really 14 points off special teams. Yeah. They got an onside kick last year, and they returned the kickoff for a touchdown. Just like in our national championship game a couple years, when we won it in 2013, we returned a kickoff for a touchdown and hit a fake punt. Something in special teams is important in this game is the offense or the defense. And I think that the key is going to be Alabama's offense against Clemson's defense and anything that happens in special teams, in my opinion.
When do you start preparing for Alabama in the season opener for next September?
It won't be long. We'll get recruiting out of the way. We'll have our analysts on them already breaking them down. We do the first 3-4 opponents, and that's something I have, learned from the dynamic of it. And because you bring people in, you analyze. And two things. We got to start breaking the first 3 to 4 opponents down for next year, and we'll start here in January. We'll have recruiting as the main staff will be out. But our GAs and all that will have those films broke down when we get back in February. We'll hit it running so we can have all the dynamics and things that we want to implement for our spring practices, brought into spring practice, things we have to develop for those game plans and that dynamic, and then be ready to go because you always got to get that jumping in. But the big thing is, too, analyzing what you did during the season, what you did well, what you did bad, and the things that you need to improve on.
Coach, congratulations, and enjoy the offseason as much as you can, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me, buddy.
That's Jimbo Fisher, Florida State head coach. They open up with Alabama September 2nd in Atlanta. Continental Tire Coach's Corner, brought to you by Continental Tire. You'll see Continental Tire at the sporting venues across the United States. Proud sponsor of college basketball. Continental's premium products available at leading independent tire dealers, car dealers, and mass retail companies across North America. Great folks. For more information, visit ContinentalTire.com. Continental Tire, for what you do.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.